Slow motion, drifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in a pendulum daze. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the yummy bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. 12 chimes ring out, but the sound never lands. Just the friction of the hour slipping through my hands. A burning ember glowing like a solitary eye, watching the blue smoke maps trace stars across the sky. Gravity is holding like a paper cranes at night. The floor is made of water and the ceiling is out of sight. No more anchors dragging in the hollow of the chest, just a silent invitation for the racing pulse to rest. Slow motion, drifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in a pendulum daze. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the yummy bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. The street lamps outside, dying ember sparks, fading in the belly of the quiet urban dark. Thoughts are spinning silk in a tangled web of grace, leaving every memory in a cold and distant place. There is honey in the marrow and iron in the bone, king of a kingdom sitting on a cushioned throne. Everything is soft now, even the jagged edge of truth, finding all the answers in a cloud of wasted views. Low motion, shifting through the thick velvet haze. The wall clock is melting in a pendulum daze. Heavy eyelids weighing down the crown of my head, while the moonlight stretches long across the yummy bed. Deep in the lungs is where the Holy Spirit's high, surrendering the spirit to the turning of the tide. Clock face goes at 12 past 10. Slow compression starts its crawl. Heavy velvet curtains spinning shadows through the wall. Gray silk ribbons braiding through the ceiling fan. I am losing track over the floorboards and then I begin. The radiator hums a flat and dusty tune, counting craters on the hollow belly of the moon. Hold it in until the pressure turns to gold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Gravity is just a rumor somehow tried to sell, treading water in the deep and quiet, wishing well. Higher than the hawk eyes, lower than the clay, watching all the jagged edges melt away. Copper tasting, drifting haze, mapping out the logic of a momentary maze. The glass is cold against the palm, a sudden saturated calm. No more ticking, just a thick and steady flow. Nowhere left that I am obligated to go. Matches flicker like a dying nervous spark, tracing silhouettes across the canvas of the dark. Dash falls down like winter on a miniature town. Every heavy thought is stripped of its iron crown, floating in the resin, stuck inside the grain. Listening to the heartbeat of a soft and steady rain. Hold it in until the pressure turns to cold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Gravity is just a rumor someone tried to sell, treading water in a deep and quiet wishing well. Higher than the hawker, lower than the clay, watching all the jagged edges melt away. Melt away, melt away. Hold it in until the pressure turns to gold. Let the secrets of the static finally unfold. Gravity is just a rumor someone tried to sell, treading water in a deep and quiet wishing well. Higher than the hawker, lower than the clay, watching all the jagged edges melt away. clock face froze at 12 while the incense burns thin. Gravity is losing grip, let the levitation begin. I'm anchored to the sofa cushions, tracing every thread, while the silver moon is spilling milk inside my heavy head.
Static on the television paints a blurry scene. I'm drifting through the tall grass in a sea of velvet green. The light sparks a tiny sun within the quiet room, chasing back the shadows in the scent of winter bloom.
Exhaling clouds of peppermint that swirl around my knees. I'm reading hidden languages whispered by the breeze. The calendar is blank and all the deadlines turn to dust. I faded in my iron chains for veins of golden rust. My pulse is like a steady drum buried in the floor. I don't remember why I used to keep a locked door. The ceiling turns to liquid glass reflecting every thought. I got a secret compass that the clever never bought.
Slow motion high above the pavement in the street. I'm dancing with the coast of every person that I meet. The air, the air is sweet and thick like honey in a jar. I'm reaching out to find my ride upon a falling star. The world is just a pebble in the pocket of my coat. I'm staying on the mountain where the purple vapors float. Whatever was a burden is a feather on the wing. I'm listening to the song that only silent planets sing.
The clock is ticking backwards, dragging yesterday along. I'm weaving all the fragments in a tapestry of song. The walls are breathing softly, kept in sync with every breath. There's a kind of living beauty in the temporary death of the ego in the engine and the grinding of the gears. I've washed away the salt of all the necessary years. The smoke is like a ladder leaning up against the dark. I'm climbing toward the center of a tiny glowing spot.
My eyes feel like copper coins draped in heavy silk. The Milky Way is pouring out a river made of milk. I'm floating on my back across a lake of indigo, watching how the embers in the ceramic vessel glow.
The neighbors are all sleeping tight in boxes made of pine, but I am out here wandering across the dotted line, between a world of solid stone and a world of shifting light. I'm the only one awake within the belly of the night.
The radiator hums a tune I swear I heard before, a symphony of wood and wind beneath the kitchen floor. I'm peeling back the labels from the jars of memory, setting every capture bird and every spirit free. The carpet feels like moss beneath the soles of tired feet. I found a way to make the bitter labor taste so sweet. One more longer lease of breath into the cooling air. I'm leaving every worry on the rungs of that old chair.
The shadows stretch the fingers long across the woody grain. I'm listening to the falling dust instead of falling rain. The universe is shrinking down to fit inside the base. I can see the map of heaven in the smudge upon your face. The pressure in my temples is a gentle kind of hand, guiding me to shores of some forgotten summer land. Slow motion high above the pavement in the street. I'm dancing with the ghost of every person that I meet. The heavy air is sweet and thick like honey in a jar. I'm reaching out to thumb a wire upon a falling star. The world is just a pebble in the pocket of my coat. I'm staying on the mountain where the purple vapors float. Whatever was a burden in the feather on the wing. I listen to the song that only silent planets sing.
Smoke rings climbing towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet grain. Watching all the pressure drift away. The city sighs through the window pane, floating high above the heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room. Flowers of the evening start to bloom.
One breath deep for the soul to mend, where the concrete and the starlight blend. Floorboards humming with a gentle tone. Kingdom built on a couch for a throne. No more money from the ticking sound. Gravity lost and the pieces found. Silver curling through the static air, leaving every single bird in there. Paper burning at a steady pace. Set your quiet lines upon my face.
The embers glow like a dying sun, knowing that the daily race is done. Clock hands freeze at the 0 point. Smoke rings climbing towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray. Watching all the pressure drift away. leaves start to bloom. Midnight pouring like a liquid ink, stopping at the edge to sit and think. The mirror shows a softer kind of gaze, lost inside the aromatic haze. Shadows stretching on the plaster wall, waiting for the final leaf to fall. Raining gold inside the crystal bowl, healing every fracture in the hole. Time is stretching like a rubber band, sifting through the hours, grain of sand. The silence feels like a heavy cold, setting every tangle nerve afloat. Clock hands freeze at the 0 point. Smoke rings climbing towards the ceiling joint. Lungs heavy with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. The city sighs through the window pane, floating high above the heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room. Flowers of the evening start to bloom. Clock hands freeze at 0 point. Smoke rings climbing towards the ceiling joint. Stepping with the velvet gray, watching all the pressure drift away. The city sighs through the window pane, floating high above the heavy rain. Slow motion in the center of the room. Flowers of the evening start to bloom.
The clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to tilt. Another thick cloud for the kingdom that I built. Slow motion static in the marrow of my bones, leaving unread messages inside of dusty phones. I am watching shadows do a slow dance on the wall, waiting for the gravity to catch me if I fall. The heavy velvet curtain of the atmosphere is gray, watching all my worries turn to bubbles anyway. Ash on the carpet like a gray spiritual stain, tracing every ripple of the blood inside my vein. The neighborhood is quiet like a cemetery plot, counting every second of the peace that I have got. There is a sweet fragrance spinning circles in the dark, searching for a fire from a microscopic spark. I am floating through the flubbles to the level underneath, holding on to nothing with the space between my teeth. Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears, folding up the map to hide the ghosts of all my fears. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin, let the heavy go to liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in a valley where the heavy breathing flows, nobody is watching where the silver hollow glows. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade, resting in the center of the sanctuary made. Elevate the vision till the pavement disappears, folding up the map to hide the ghosts of all my fears. High above the skyline where the oxygen is thin, let the heavy golden liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in a valley where the heavy breathing flows, nobody is watching where the silver hollow glows. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade, resting in the center of the sanctuary made. My eyes are turning red like a sunset in the west, finding where the frequency is buried in my chest. The city is a circuit board of flickering machines, but I am my way inside the fabric of my dreams, grinding up the hours just to see what they provide, taking every secret for a slow and steady ride. The calendar is empty and the clock has lost its hands, writing down my legacy and shifting desert sands. Ice in the glass making melodies a clink, standing on the edge of what I actually might think. The smoke is like a ghost that is trying to escape, changing every corner to a different kind of shape. I hear the plan spinning on a rusted dying gear, everything is distant yet it feels so very near. One more heavy pull for the clarity it brings, tying down the anchors to the feathers of my wings. Elevate the visions till the grave but disappear. Folding up the map to hide the ghost of all my fear. High above the silent where the oxygen is thin. Let the heavy golden liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in the valley where a heavy breathing flows. Nobody is watching where a silver hollow grills. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade. Resting in the center of the sanctuary made it. Elevate the vision till the craven disappears. Folding up the map to hide the ghost of all my fears. High above the silent where the oxygen is thin. Let the heavy golden liquid settle on my skin. Weightless in the valley where a heavy breathing flows. Nobody is watching where a silver hollow grills. Turn the dial backward till the numbers start to fade. Resting in the center of the sanctuary made it. The clock hands me at the ceiling peak, while the heavy velvet curtains speak. I tangled up the shadows in a zigzag burn, waiting for the planet to stop its turn. The red eye of the heater glows against the floor. I am not looking for the key of the door, just a slow motion dive through the silver haze, tracing out an untamed atlas in a lazy maze. Oh, let the heavy air weigh down the bone in this hollow cathedral of the night alone. The quiet sparks are the only law I know. When the blood runs sweet and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year. While the static on the radio starts to clear. Diamonds of ash on a denim sleeve, the only gospel that I can believe. Watching the wallpaper patterns start to drift, like a tectonic plate in a subtle shift. The neighbors are dreaming of white picket lines, but I'm harvesting smoke from the ancient vines. No calendars counting, no bells left to toll, just the gravity pulling at the center of my soul. Oh, let the heavy air weigh down the bone in this hollow cathedral of the night alone. The quiet sparks are the only law I know. When the blood runs sweet and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year. While the static on the radio starts to clear. Cathedral of the night alone. The quiet sparks are the only you're I know. When the blood runs sweet and the pulse moves slow, floating on the exhale of a long lost year. While the static on the radio starts to clear. Yeah. The clock is leaning heavy on the chimney top. Gravity is thick enough to make the motion stop. I am sitting in the hollow of a velvet chair, tracing silver patterns in a box of heavy air. The city down below is just a ghost of a break. I watch the final shadow sweep the light away. Yeah. A little bit of fire for the tired mind, searching for the pieces that I left behind. The smoke is like a ribbon on a wooden flute. The noise of every street is suddenly gone mute. There is a slow vibration through the floor and wall. I can hear the giants talking in the hallway hall. Yeah. Take a deeper breath and let the center hold, turning all the iron into melted dough. High above the valley where the secrets grow, everything is moving in a lazy flow. Midnight is a curtain and the world is wide. rise or low, I do not care exactly where the minutes go. The clouds are gathering inside a glass of wine. The stars are getting tangled in a fishing line. There is a steady comfort in the cedar wood, understanding trouble like I knew I should. Yeah. Take a deeper breath and let the center hold, turning all the iron into melted gold. High above the valley where the secrets grow, everything is moving in a lazy flow. Midnight is a curtain and the world is wide. Float inside the feeling on a rising tide. Everything is moving in a lazy flow. Midnight is a curtain and the world is wide. Float inside the feeling on a rising tide. Clock face bleeds a static shade of gray. The smoke performs a slow and velvet sway. I'm anchored in this worn-out leather seat, watching shadows stretch across the empty street. The furnace hums a low and steady moan. A king inside a kingdom built upon. My lungs are heavy with the pale blue haze, a quiet fire burning through the winter maze. The ceiling fan spins like a weary soul. I'm digging deep to find a hidden gold, but every thought is wrapped in wool and silk. The stars outside are spilled and faded milk. The dial turn to frequencies unknown, with silence as a jagged undertone. I'll let the friction of the world dissolve into the dusty gears that don't revolve. Hold the breath until the borders start to fade, resting in the cradle that the gloom has made. There's a comfort in the way the hour slows, where the river of the midnight exhale flows. Nothing moves besides the ghost upon the wall, waiting for the gravity to break the fall. Let the blues wash over every aching joint, disappearing past the final turning point. A distant siren wails a lonely tune beneath the cold and suffocating moon. The ashtray is the desert of the mind, leaving all the frantic urgency behind. The floorboards creak like ships upon the tide. There isn't any place for me to hide, except within this cloud of thick relief, a temporary solace for a tired thief. I'm tracing patterns on the window pane, listen to the heartbeat of the rain. The coffee in the mug is turning cold, while stories of evening start to fold. My pulse is just a rhythmic muffled thud, moving slow as molasses through the mud. The universe is shrinking to this room, enveloped in a soft and fragrant gloom. Hold the breath until the borders start to fade, resting on the cradle that the gloom has made. There's a comfort in the way the hours slow, where the river of the midnight exhale flows. Nothing moves besides the ghost upon the wall, waiting for the gravity to break the fall. Let the blue wash over every aching joint, disappearing past the final turning point. The clock is leaning heavy on the stroke of 12. Lungs are opening up, a hidden dusty shelf. I draw the ghost of July through a burning glass, watching every frantic minute turn to blades of grass. The ceiling fan is spinning like a tired prayer, tracing circles in the thick and silver laden air. I ain't looking for a sign or a holy road, just a simpler way to carry this uneven load. Got a guitar string snapping in the empty hall, shadows doing backflips on a peeling wall. The street lamp is a jester with a yellow eye, winking at the people as they shuffle by. My mind is drifting south where the delta flows, where the willow knows the secrets that the river sows. I'm sinking in the cushions of a velvet throne, feeling like a king who finally found his home. The embers are a map of a forgotten state, giving up the keys to the heavy gate. The worry in my pocket turns to weightless sand, slipping through the fingers of a steady hand. Slow down the breathing of the restless night, let the smoke settle where the moon is white. There's a blues playing soft in the hollow bone, a melody that sounds like coming back alone. Exhale, the winter is a tangled vine, everything is leaning on a crooked line. Midnight is a bottle with a broken seal, tasting like the only thing that's truly real. I saw a man in the mirror with a jagged grin, asking where the ending is supposed to begin. I told him that the distance is a clever lie, measured by the clouds in a purple paper sky. The vinyl is scratching on a soulful groove, making even frozen statues wanna move. But I'm anchored to the bottom of a peaceful deep, where the noisy promises finally go to sleep. Don't wake the neighbors with a heavy boot, the tree is standing taller than the muddy root. I found a box of matches and a copper cent, wondering exactly where the daylight went. But the blues don't mind a little bit of hazy dew, it filters out the gray and brings a softer hue. No more running from the ticking of the wall, just standing in the silence letting shadows fall. The embers are a map of a forgotten state, giving up the keys to the heavy gate. The worry in my pocket turns to weightless sand, slipping through the fingers of a steady hand. Slow down the breathing of the restless night, let the smoke settle where the moon is white. There's a blues playing soft in the hollow bone, a melody that sounds like coming back alone. Exhale, the winter in the tangled vine, everything is leading on a crooked line. Midnight in the bar with a broken seal, tasting like the only thing that's truly real. Clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to breathe. Smoke rings spinning like a slow motion wheel. I am buried in the fabric of a velvet throne, counting every shadow that the silver lamp has thrown. The heavy air is thick enough to hold my hand, walking through the hourglass on sinking grains of sand. No one is knocking and the phone is out of sight, drifting on the edges of a hazy blue light. The city is a postcard burning at the edge. I am leaning gently off a soft and quiet ledge. The universe is shrinking to the size of this room. Flowers made of embers starting to bloom. Sweet green haze carrying the weight away. Catch the tired colors from the long and dusty day, floating on a cloud made of cedar and bone, finding every answer in the kingdom of my own. High above the gravity that ties me to the floor, I do not need to wander to the window or the door. The silence has a flavor like a plum left in the dew, 1,000 different shades inside a single spark of you. The walls are losing edges and the floor is turning soft, keeping all the airy thoughts suspended high aloft. There is a secret language in the way the paper burns. The world is spinning backwards while the axle slowly turns. I watch the moon go hiding in a coat of charcoal fleece, trading all the static for a momentary peace. The stars are just some diamonds in a pocket full of rain, washing out the copper and the rust inside my brain. Sweet green haze carrying the weight away. Watch the tide color froke along a dusty day. Floating on a cloud made of cedar and bone. Finding every answer in a kingdom of my own. High above the gravity that ties me to freedom. I do not need to wander through the window or the door. The night is just a curtain drawn against a bitter cold. Stories in the ashes that are waiting to be told. The minute hand is frozen at the peak of the ascent. Living in the mercy of a lucky accident. Sweet green haze carrying the weight away. Watch the tide color run the long and dusty day. Floating on a cloud made of cedar and bone. Finding every answer in a kingdom of my own. High above the gravity that ties me to the floor. I do not need to wander to the window or the door.
Look out the window at the heavy velvet air. The clock hands frozen in the silver stare. I'm letting out the ghost of a long day's heat, tracing the blueprints of a quiet street. The lighter sparks a ruby in the dim, watching the universe spill over the rim. My lungs are heavy with a slow desire, tending the embers of a low burning fire. There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, reading the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady me into the deep indigo, watching the currents of the midnight flow. Everything is turning to a liquid blue, softening the edges of the things I knew. The city is a long breathing far away. I'm sinking underneath the weight of the grave, drifting through the nectar of a lazy dream. Nothing is quite as solid as it would seem, just a slow motion ride on a rolling tide, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Hey. The ceiling is a canvas for a swirling smoke, finding the punchline to a silent joke. The blues are crawling up the wooden stairs, stripping away all the tangled cares. My pulse is a drum buried under the sand, holding the compass in a trembling hand. Time is a ribbon that I've untied, taking a trip on the inside. There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, reading the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady leaning to the deep indigo, watching the currents of the midnight flow. The soul is a basement where the jazz stays loud, hiding my head in a fragrant cloud. The bitterness is melting like a sugar cube, travel through the hollow of a neon tube. No more fiction, just a velvet slide, let in the mercury be my guide. The morning is a bloomer that I can't believe. I've got a couple cards hidden up my sleeve. The world is a marble in a velvet glove, spinning in a circle with a little shove. The smoke is a ladder to a higher plane, washing the dust from a tired brain. Exhale the tension, let the spirit climb. I'm perfectly lost in the middle of time. There's a thick sweet haze floating through the hall, reading the shadows dancing on the wall. Gravity is losing its grip on the floor. I don't need to worry about the locks on the door, just a steady leaning to the deep indigo, watching the currents of the midnight flow. strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to melt. Counting paper planes and the cars that I was dealt. In the gold curtains drawing circles round the moon. Heavy on the eyelids in this velvet line cocoon. No clocks on the wall, just the vibration of the bass. Tracing constellations in the empty inner space. I breathe in the ocean and I breathe out the fog. Stepping off the treadmill, the digital law. The asphalt is sleeping under layers of the mist. Something in the garden that the sun has never kissed. Gravity is leaking through the cracks in the floor. I don't need a key because I took away the door. Cloudy windows in the back of a parked sedan. Tracing out a map with a slow and steady hand. The silver lining glows like a ghost in the dark, leaving every worry as a cold and dying spark. Liquid ember dripping from the edge of the sky. Watching every heavy thought just flutter on by. Spinning like a record but the needle is deep. Between the waking world and the valley of the sleep. The silence is a river and I'm drifting on a raft. Sipping on the quiet like a bitter winter draft. Nothing left to prove and there is nothing left to say. Just the purple shadows where the weary tigers play. Hold the world in a hollow glass jar. Looking for the center of a burnt out star. Slow down and spin until the gears all grind. Leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Floating on the exhale in the blue light gold. Nowhere left to rush, there is nowhere left to go. Paper thin moments stacked up against the wall. Waiting for the giants in the barricades to fall. Ash on the denim like a great winter snow. Measuring the distance that the inner currents flow. The city is a puzzle with 1,000 missing hearts. Beating to the tempo of some hidden heavy art. Keep the flame steady while the ice begins to thaw. Looking for the beauty in the fundamental flaw. Stretched across the fabric of an unforgotten dream. Sewing up the edges of a tattered messy scene. Safe inside the bubble while the thunder rolls past. Holding on to something that was never meant to last. Hold the world in a hollow glass jar. Looking for the center of a burnt out star. Slow down and spin until the gears all wind. Leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Slowing on the exhale in the blue light glow. Nowhere left to rush and there is nowhere left to go. Hold the world in a hollow glass jar. Looking for the center of a burnt out star. Slow down and spin until the gears all wind. Leaving every heavy piece of metal behind. Rolling on the exhale in the blue light glow. Nowhere left to rush and there is nowhere left to go. Clock is bleeding shadows on the hardwood floor. Static humming through the keyhole of the bedroom door. I flick the flint and let the oxygen ignite the haze. Just a lonely pilot drifting through a velvet maze. The city is a skeleton of cold and jagged steel. But in this heavy smoke, the jagged edges start to heal. I am sinking upward while the gravity begins to fold, turning every copper thought into a liquid gold. My lungs are heavy anchors in a sea of thick incense. The midnight air is dripping down my last defense. I watch the cherry glow like a dying dwarf star, thinking about the distance and how we drifted far. The silence is a predator that's finally gone to sleep. By your promises to break and many secrets left to keep. There is a bluesy ghost rattling the window pane, washing out the salt and the residue of pain. Take a slow breath and let the vision blur. Everything is swaying in a gentle silver purr. The world is just a poster tucked away inside a drawer. I do not need to struggle or to hollow out the core. Just a slow exhale and the drifting of the mind, leaving all the tangled wires and the ticking clocks behind. The blue note is vibrating in the marrow of the bone. King of a kingdom made of nothing and alone. The ceiling is a canvas where the gray clouds bloom, tracing out the geometry of a quiet vacant room. Time is just a ladder with the rungs cut away. Nothing left to borrow and nothing left to pay. The weight is lifting off like a kite without a string, listening to the anthem that the midnight shadows sing. I am looking at my hands like they belong to someone else, breaking every bottle sitting on the mental shelves. The blues is not a tether, it is just a certain view, a way of looking sideways at the thumbs we thought we knew. The rolling paper parchment is a gospel for the lost, counting up the gain while I disregard the cost. The ashes falling slowly like a gray and quiet snow. There is nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. The speakers breathe the baseline that is thick as swampy mud. I can feel the molasses flowing through my tired blood. No more jagged pressings, no more frantic search for light. Just a thickened race of a heavy indigo. Now I'll stay right here until the morning bruises of the sky, watching all the frantic ghosts of yesterday go by. The match is cold and spent, but the fire's in the soul. Finally feeling fractured and finally feeling whole. Take a slow breath and let the vision blur. Everything is swaying in a gentle silver blur. The world is just a postcard tucked away inside a drawer. I do not need to struggle or to hollow out the core. Just a slow exhale and the drifting of the mind. Even all the tangled wires and the ticking glass behind. The blue note is vibrating in the marrow of the bone. King of a kingdom made of nothing and alone. Sicking is a canvas where the gray clouds bloom, tracing out the geometry of a quiet vacant room. Time is just a matter with the lungs cut away. Nothing left to water when nothing left to pay. The clock is stuck on 12 and the smoke is rolling thick. Watching silhouettes dancing underwater doing a trick. Every heavy breath is a slow motion slide down the street, while the mercury drops and the pavement loses its heat. I am buried in the sofa feeling gravity pull my frame, watching the radiator hits and calling out my name. The world is a silent movie with the sound turned low, and I am drifting on a tide where the restless spirits go.
Got a green light sparking in the center of the dark, igniting a vision from a tiny glowing spark. The ceiling is a canvas painted in shades of gray, while every bit of thought simply decides to drift away.
My pulse is a steady drum beating inside a velvet box, picking every heavy lock on the heavy iron blocks. The city is a sleeper holding its breath under the moon, waiting for the sun to break the spell way too soon.
This is the midnight silver, leaving my lungs in a haze. Getting lost inside the corners of a purple tinted maze. Floating on a cloud made of everything we forgot to say. Watching the kaleidoscope turning the night into day. It is a heavy kind of freedom floating in the room. The slow burning flowers starting its secret bloom. Just an exhale pushing back against the heavy weight of every single shadow standing at the garden gate.
My eyelids are shutters closing on a technicolor dream, flowing down a river in a slow and steady stream. The furniture is breathing like a giant in a deep sleep, counting all the secrets that the quiet hours keep. The vibrations of liquid moving through the hollow floor. I am not looking for an exit or a different open door, just lingering in the space where the air feels like silk, turning all the sour memories into honey and milk.
The street lamps are glowing like pearls on a string. I can hear the melody that the quiet shadows sing. The friction of the daytime is smooth out and soft, keeping my heavy spirit suspended way up aloft. There is no rush to find the destination or a goal, just feeding the fire burning inside a ceramic bowl. Gravity is a suggestion I am choosing to ignore,
While the universe is humming right outside my door.
the stars are just dust clinging to a coat of black, and there is no reason to ever look over my back. The atmosphere is thick and it tastes like wood and lime. We are standing on the edge of the fabric of time, and between is leaning toward a peaceful kind of crash, while the worries of the week turn into a pile of ash. This is the midnight silver, leaving my lungs in a haze. Getting lost inside the corners of a purple tinted maze. Floating on a cloud made of everything we forgot to say. Watch a little kaleidoscope turning the night into day. It is a haggard kind of freedom floating in the room. A slow burning flower starting a secret bloom. Just an exhale pushing back against the heavy weight of every single shadow standing at the garden. Oh, yeah.
clock strikes 12 and the ceiling starts to fade. Heavy eyelids watching how the silver light is played. I break the seal while the quiet settles in my chest. Just a local ghost looking for a place to rest. Smoke combustion burning oxygen to velvet days. Counting patterns moving through the empty hollow space. No more gravity to pull against my weary bones. Just a steady humming of the city monotone. The embers glow like iron stars held between my palms. And liquid pieces pouring through the frantic cooling toms. Forget the calendar, forget the ticking on the shelf. I am drifting miles away from every version of myself. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller in the purple tinted haze. Losing every map inside this comfortable maze. Breathe it out until the wind is melting from the blood. Floating on the motion of a warmer side of flood. Everything is golden where the vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that leads me back to you. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller in the purple tinted haze. Using every map inside this comfortable place. Breathe it out and feel the wind melting from the blood. Floating on the motion of a warm silent flood. Everything is golden where the vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that leads me back to you. Street lamps blink like flickering ideas in the dark. Leaving behind every heavy footprint, heavy mark. The air is thick with secrets that the daylight cannot hold. Turning all the copper memories back into gold. My lungs are heavy with the weight of ancient quiet trees. Swaying to the movement of the subterranean breeze. I found a frequency that vibrates underneath the floor. I do not need to look for any exit anymore. The embers glow like iron stars help green my palms. The liquid pieces pouring through the frantic cooling calm. Forget the calendar, forget the ticking on the shelf. I am drifting miles away from every version of myself. Breathe it in and let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The world is getting smaller in my purple tinted haze. Using every nap inside this comfortable maze. Breathe it out and feel the wind melting from the blood. Floating on the motion of a warm sided tub. Everything is colder where the vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that lead me back to you. Breathe it in, let the shadows soften at the edge. Walking on the vapor of a high and lonely ledge. The water's getting smaller in the purple tinted haze. Losing every nap inside this comfortable maze. Love that I feel the wind melting from the blood. Floating by the motion of a warmer silent flood. Everything is golden when the vision meets the blue. Searching for the nothingness that leads me back to you. It's a double-digit zero on the wall. Heavy lungs holding back the gravity call. The room starts to stretch like a rubber band line. Counting shadows moving in a slow design. I am tracing the smoke till it hits the intake. No more pressure left for the world to create. Just a dim light humming from the kitchen ceiling. Wrapped in the fabric of an unbound feeling. Half past the deadline, floated in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to drift like. Let the exhale carry every burden away. Oh, into the harbor of the blue and the gray. Yeah, yeah. Window cracked open just to let the frost peek. Words are too heavy for an accent to speak. Feet on the velvet and the brain in me fall. Trading my logic for a hazy monologue. The record is spinning but the needle is still. Swallow in silence like a bitter green pill. I see the street lights through a filtered lens. Where the logic breaks down and the peace begins. The minute hand is stuck in the sap of the tree. Losing the ghost of who I used to be. Drifting down the river made of velvet and pine. Crossing the border of the conscious line. Half past the deadline, floating in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to jerk like. Let the exhale carry every burden away. Into the harbor of the blue and the gray. Yeah, yeah. past the deadline, floating in chemistry. The oxygen thickens like a long memory. Golden leaf burning at the edge of the night. Everything heavy is beginning to drift light. Let the exhale carry every burden away into the harbor of the blue and the gray.
Face frozen at the apex of the dock. Ash falls heavy on the velvet sofa spark. Low tide rising in a room filled with gray. Watching every heavy burden drift away. The wooden floorboard thump, a muddy slide. No wet left for the restless mind to hide. Tracing silver circles on the ceiling made of glass. Counting every second till the shadows finally pass. The deep blue frequency is settling in my chest. A slow burn remedy for the heart that never rests. Everything is heavy but it feels so light. Swimming through the thickest part of the night. Take a long slow breath of the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. The world is just a ghost outside the window pane. Floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Where the low wind vibrate through the attic beams. Waking up slowly inside of the dreams. Just a quiet pulse in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. The blues guitar is weeping through the speaker mesh. Healing every hollow in the tide, soul and flesh. Thick gold honey pouring through the silent hall. Writing secret scriptures on the plaster wall. My pulse is sinking to the ticking of the clock. Drifting like a vessel unmoored from the dock. Gravity is fading like a long forgotten name. Fed by the embers of a small green flame. The deep blue frequency is settling in my chest. A slow burn remedy for the heart that never rests. Everything is heavy, but it feels so light. Swimming through the thickest part of the night. Take a long, slow breath, the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. The world is just a ghost outside the window pane. Floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Let the low wind vibrate through the attic beams. Waking up slowly inside of the dreams. Just a quiet ghost in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go. Take a long slow breath of the midnight air. Leave the tattered pieces of the day right there. The world is just a ghost outside the window pane. Floating through the smoke and the soft blue rain. Let the low wind vibrate through the attic beams. Waking up slowly inside of the dreams. Just a quiet ghost in the center of the glow. Nowhere left to run and nowhere left to go.
Clock face is frozen at the dead of the moon. Heavy curtains swallow the silver light too soon. I am sinking deep into the velvet of the chair. The thick blue haze is the only thing in the air. I forgot the question and the reason I came. Watching the candle stub flicker like a dying flame. The quiet is a hammer hitting my feather bed. A slow motion circuit spinning round inside my head. Paper thin dreams rolled up tight as a fist. Walking through the alleyways of peppermint mist. Every shadow has a story it is trying to tell. But I am busy listening to the ringing of a bell that has not been struck for 100 years or more. The keys are all rattling the lock of the door. But nobody is knocking and nobody is there. Just a ghost of a feeling hanging in the square. Take a long, slow breath of the midnight dust. Let the gears of the city turn to orange rust. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding the kingdom that we of the middle of the night. The radio is humming a tune with no name. Small sparks jumping like a high altitude game. I can see the thoughts as they drift past the pain, like soft gray horses running loose in the rain. There is no ambition and there is no regret, just the cherry glow of a finished cigarette. The floorboards are breathing a steady low hum, waiting for the morning that is never gonna come. The ceiling is a map of a country I knew. The walls are turning into a lighter shade of blue. Everything is soft and the edges all are gone. We are standing on the threshold of a different kind of dawn. Take a one slow breath of the midnight dust. Let the gears of the city turn to orange rust. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bone, finding a kingdom that we can call our own. Where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, in the hazy blue garden of the middle of the night. The city turned to orange rust. We are floating on a raft made of cedar and bones, finding the kingdom that we can call our own. Where the minutes are long and the gravity is light, in the hazy blue garden of the middle of the night.